John here, I'm back again with another video, and today we're going to kick off some reviews here. Getting back on the review train, we're going to take a look at and review this Ultimate Sci-Fi Collection Pack, which consists of 4 70s sci-fi movies. So we have Logan's Run, The Omega Man, Soylent Green, and Westworld. And yeah, I got this at Walmart for $10, and I did enjoy this collection pack. So today we're going to kick off with my review of Logan's Run, 1976 sci-fi movie. And I thought this was a decent flick. At the time this came out, this is right before Star Wars. And, this film is known for being groundbreaking in terms of, visual effects. And I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But the plot real quick, to sort of get that out of the way. So in the future, you have these young residents that enjoy a self-indulgent lifestyle within the protective confines of a domed city. And the general belief is that when each person turns 30, they are reincarnated for another blissful life cycle. They have to participate in this ritual called the carousel. And those who know the much darker truth become runners. A main character in the film is played by Michael York. He's this law enforcement officer, Logan, and they're referred to as Sandmen. So you have these Sandmen that go after the runners, and you find out that some of the runners have fled to this hidden sanctuary. So Logan has to go undercover to locate, the sanctuary, and he winds up instead trying to initiate a revolution with another runner. And yeah, that's kind of the plot here to this film. The guy who directed this film, Michael Anderson, I haven't seen too much of his stuff. I mean, prior to this, he directed Around the World in 80 Days. Around this time, he also directed Orca, a film that I've heard about but haven't seen. Now, the cast here, Michael York, again, he plays our main character, Logan. And I thought he was decent in the film, though, if I could be perfectly honest, the more I kept watching Michael York and his performance, to me, he just comes off more as like a bad guy type than a good guy. And I know Michael York, he's been in a variety of projects. He's not a bad actor. I believe he was in the first 2 Austin Powers movies. And again, he's been in other stuff. But here, I kept getting vibes. I don't know if it's because of his acting that to me, he comes off more as like a bad guy. Like, I'm going to kill you while I'll indulge in some caviar. That kind of, performance. And he's our lead hero. So maybe, at the time, if they had gotten another actor like, Jeff Bridges, to me, he would have been perfect for this movie. I believe the same year he did King Kong, so maybe he was tied up in that. But, just a thought. If Jeff Bridges had done this film, it would have been perfect. To me, he would have been better for the lead character. But again, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that Michael York's terrible. Again, he's decent in the film. But I also felt, I feel that another actor would have been better. Again, like a Jeff Bridges or something. But also the film, you have Richard Jordan. Unfortunately, he's passed away. But, this guy has been in other films. He was in The Hunt for Red October. He was in Gettysburg. And again, unfortunately, he's passed away. But, he played a good villain here. The character of Francis. Maybe you could have had that. Maybe the more I kept thinking, maybe if you had switched actors here, maybe you could have had Richard Jordan play the lead character, Michael York played the villain. But again, it's just a thought. I know some people might disagree, but Richard Jordan, again, he's not bad. You also have Jenny Agutter, who plays Jessica. And she's been in other stuff too. A variety of projects. She was fine in the film. You also have Farrah Fawcett in a small part. Yeah, Farrah Fawcett. She actually appears here in a couple of scenes. You have Roscoe Lee Brown as the voice of Box, because in the film, the main character has this key that unlocks the city, and it gets to a point where they're in this cave and they meet this robot named Box, Logan and the girl, and the voice of Box is Roscoe Lee Brown. Roscoe Lee Brown was the voice of Kingpin in the Spider-Man animated series and some other stuff. But so, and the character of Box, that was kind of cool. I mean, I like that. And, and the thing about this film here, and I'll talk more about the style of the film, because it's a very glitzy sci-fi movie. I mean, very flashy in terms of its visual effects and so much more. But, that's kind of the cast here for the most part. Again, Michael York I thought was decent. Richard Jordan, was good as the villain. Roscoe Lee Brown as the voice of Box, Farrah Fawcett in a small part. The film score, Jerry Goldsmith. I like the score to the film. And I almost forgot to mention, it is based on the novel by William Nolan. And I haven't read the source material, but yeah, it's based on the novel by William Nolan. Now, the production value, I really liked the look of the Dome City. And you could definitely tell there's some miniature work here with this movie, especially in terms of, the city and the roads, how the roads are designed. A lot of it is miniature work, but you know what? I'll take that over a lot of CGI today, because miniature work, I appreciate, I appreciate the practical effects and that it's tangible. And like I said, this is right, before Star Wars. And I don't know what the budget is, and maybe I should have wrote this down, but I want to say I'm going to shoot here and say the budget was around $1 million. And I could be off. I could be totally off, but the production value, the look of the city, even when they go outside the city, because they have a key again to unlock the city, and that's where they go to one point, this cave, and that's when they discover that there's life outside the city. And you got the scenes where they jump into the water. There's a scene where they find the Capitol building, and it's covered in vines, and the Lincoln Memorial, is covered in vines. Those portions of the film are interesting, and they meet this old guy with a lot of cats that, lives in the Capitol building, I believe. And the visual effects, like, okay, for example, the carousel thing in the beginning, because, again, everybody that reaches 30 in the film, they have to go to this ritual where the carousel, they all stand in a circle, and in the middle of the circle is this big red diamond. That's what I describe it as. And then everybody floats to the top, and then they combust. And, it's interesting to look at. I mean, again, this is 1976. So, I can understand if one might say the visuals aren't by today's standards, aren't great to look at. Because, just a year later, Star Wars, again, changed everything. So, a lot of what you saw in Star Wars, you can say it blows us out of the water. But, the visual effects, there's some interesting eye candy there. Again, more so, I would say, in terms of the city and, how they made the city look. And, of course, this is the 70s. Everybody's wearing leotards in the future. But, the whole carousel thing and everybody floating to the top and they combust. again, it's interesting to look at, but you know, again, this film here. It is a product of its time, and there's some decent eye candy there. So I mean, production and visual effects. I mean, it was nominated for best visual effects. Yeah, Special Academy Awards. So I mean, again, it was recognized for its visuals and all that stuff. The concept, like the plot of the film is interesting. That whenever somebody reaches 30, they have to go through this thing where basically they're reincarnated. And I know over the years there's been talks of a remake and all that stuff, and I'm one that is against remakes and reboots, because they've been talking about remaking this since the 90s apparently. And also back then, what I almost forgot to mention, there was a TV show, I think, yeah, spawned from this movie. I think, I don't know, I forgot like how long it ran, or was it shortly after? I think it was after this film here. And again, maybe I should have wrote this down, but oh well. But they did make a TV show out of this film, and again, they've been talking about remaking this since the 90s. And I can understand, like, again, I'm one that's against the reboots, remakes, and all that stuff. But this film here, the concept is interesting enough that I can understand why they would want to remake this movie. Would I want to see it now? Not so much. Because again, you look at recent remakes and reboots and all that stuff, and I would not want to see it. I know there's been a lot of directors mentioned possibly to direct a remake, even Joseph Kaczynski. And I think he's the guy that directed Oblivion with Tom Cruise, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, so they've been talking about remaking this film for a while, and as of now, I mean, I haven't heard a thing about it. But the concept itself, I mean, is interesting, and but yeah, so I like the story to the film. Overall, the acting's not bad. Again, Michael York, he's decent in the film. I like the score by Jerry Goldsmith. To me, I would say some of my favorite stuff with the film is more of outside the city. So you can say the film really starts to pick up when, they go outside the city. And, I mean, you do get some interesting scenes, too. You got the stuff with the box character, the robot in the cave. You got, again, towards the end where they find the Lincoln Memorial and the Capitol, in ruins, and everything's covered in vines and what have you. And I would say, overall, my final thoughts on Logan's Run. Again, it's a decent sci-fi movie. Again, acting is not bad. The direction's not bad. The visuals, there's some cool eye candy there. It's a very flashy sci-fi movie, and it was groundbreaking at the time. But if I compare it to other sci-fi movies out there, I mean, to me, there's better ones. And I know this film, gets high marks. I mean, it has like a 6.8 in IMDb. So, people, it's a good rating, 6.8. But if I had to give it a rating out of, of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 6. And again, that's not to say that it's bad. It is above average. Again, it's a decent movie. It's a decent watch. Some cool, flashy visuals for 1976. I like some of the miniature work here, with the city. But being almost 2 hours, you do feel the pacing a little bit. Maybe it could have been trimmed down in terms of pacing. I don't. Michael York again. I think he's decent, but you could have had. I think you could have had another actor for that part. So yeah, to me, a 6 out of 10. I would give this film. Again, decent, not bad. I recommend it. So yeah, that's my review of Logan's Run, 1976 film. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my review of The Omega Man with Charlton Heston. But thank you for watching, and have a good day.